Do you struggle to organize empowerment scholarship account documents? Between reimbursements, debit card approvals, and purchasing items through Marketplace, these documents can get overwhelming pretty quickly. Come a little closer. This is a behind-the-scenes look at my empowerment scholarship account system to stay organized. If you feel like maybe you don't have enough time to put this together, then you can order this entire binder. There will be a curriculum, and I will have ideas for each age group, as well as recommendations for executive functioning books for children. Let's start with the cover of our organizational binder. Since we are The Sensory Life, we have titled this series, Making Sense of Empowerment Scholarship Account. This will be the first in a series of Making Sense tutorials. Coming soon will be the Making Sense of Budgeting tutorial. This is a 1.5-inch binder. It is durable. On the side, you see it's labeled ESA 2023 to 2024. If you have multiple kids, I would recommend having one binder per child, and I'll show you why when we get inside. You can make this customizable if you'd like by removing this inside insert. And now let's get to the secret sauce of how I stay organized. On the left, you're going to see a pouch that's labeled Receipts and Invoices. Now, as we go about making purchases, we don't always have time to come home and input that receipt into Class Wallet. So we did pick a binder that you can insert your receipts and invoices here. And as you see this pouch getting full, that's when you know it's going to be time for you to start inputting those receipts. I like to schedule the same time each week, even if it's just 30 minutes of where I actually open up this binder and I get inside of it and I see, do I have any receipts that need to be input? Do I have any follow-up that I need to do? Did my reimbursements come through? I check my bank account. I'll show you how to do all that in a future video. For now, you're going to see on the right side, there are 5 tabs, starting with Tracking Charts, Curriculum, Attestations, Funding and Deposits, and Marketplace. Let's start with Tracking Charts. So as we turn this, first you're going to see that these are very heavy duty. They're not the typical paper because this is going to be with us for the entire year. The tracking chart says ESA reimbursements and transactions. It has the year 2023 to 2024. I've included on the left-hand side, you can see the date. There's a spot to add vendor name as well as the item or items purchased. You will have to write small in this area. What I tend to do is write the vendor name on top, and then I just write really small if there's multiple items. Next, we'll go to the purchase section, and you see amount. This is where I write the full amount of my purchase. Was there a receipt given? So let's say that I went to Barnes & Noble. Yes, I'm going to put a checkbox here or a Y for yes that says, yes, I do have a receipt for that purchase. Why would I put that there? Well, if you are maybe submitting reimbursement for a tutor for your child, a receipt is not always provided. And so in that case, I need to check the box that says create. That reminds me that I need to request an invoice or a receipt from the tutor, or I can go ahead and create an invoice or receipt on my own for submission. Anytime that I create a receipt or an invoice, I do give a copy of it to the tutor for their records as well. If you're working with a business who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience in ESA, or maybe they don't have a lot of students as a tutor, I do feel like it's a lot to ask for them to create an invoice for me. And so I just, on my computer, I have templates. And so I fill out an entire invoice and I make sure that I check all the boxes that ESA requires. And you can see those requirements by going to the handbook, and then I provide a copy of that to the company or the tutor. If it's a larger business, like if you're doing swim lessons out of somewhere like Hubbard Swim School, they're going to already provide you with an invoice, and they will also provide you with a receipt. It just depends on who your vendor is and what you're comfortable asking for. Now we go on to this next section here. This is the submission checklist. And so this is where I fill out exactly what needs to be submitted to make sure that I get reimbursed every time. Let's just say that I'm doing a dance reimbursement for my daughter. Then yes, I will need to upload the attestation form. So when that gets uploaded, you can put a Y for yes. Next is statement, invoice, or receipt. You will need a statement or an invoice. You will also need a receipt. And so what I do here is I'll put a check mark and then write statement next to it if that's what I've provided. If it's an invoice, I'll do a check mark and then I'll write invoice. You always need a receipt, and so I have a check mark and then I'll write receipt here. I do have to write small because you have a lot of information going on this page. This section where it says credentials, curriculum, and evaluation, this is specifically for special education kids. I did create this same form that is for our universal kiddos. Do I need to upload credentials? Do I need to provide a curriculum? Maybe I'm being reimbursed for supplies and I need to put a curriculum and it has to show the item in the supply list. Do I need an evaluation to support the item that's being purchased? If you're buying sensory items, you need to provide your occupational therapist's recommendation saying that they think your child needs the item, as well as their credentials. So these are all areas that you're going to need to check boxes in. Here, because most of what we do as parents is supplemental with no documentation as far as the category, I went ahead and just put a box here so I didn't have to write out supplemental no documentation on every single line as I'm going, because I do like to put the category that I'm going to be placing each item under. And so this way, if I check this box, I know that this is an item that supplemental, no documentation, nothing here will need to be filled in. All I will need at that point is to provide a receipt, which would get checked here. This section is important because as you are going about your reimbursement process, if there happens to be a delay and you want to call and check and see what's happening with that transaction, they will ask you for two pieces of information. Number one, we need your ESA application ID. This is your child's ID number, their individual ID number. Here's just one reason why I recommend having a separate binder for each child. You want to keep everything compartmentalized, as clear and simple as possible, so that this process does not become overwhelming for you. So they will ask for the ESA application ID. They will also ask for the order ID number. By providing this number, they are able to very quickly pull up that transaction and give you an update on what's happening. Now, this last section here is the approved section. Was it approved? Yes or no? So always you're going to see a Y here. If there's ever an N for no, that means that they are requesting additional information and I need to go back into ClassWallet and follow what the email says. Whether that's providing more information because a receipt was inaccurate or didn't have enough specifics on it, whatever it may be. So typically you're going to see your approved are going to be yes. And then I leave this next section until the reimbursement actually comes through on my account. I don't need to know the approval date. You can write that if you want to. What I really want to know is when did those funds hit my account? Okay, so this date is not the date of purchase, because remember, at the beginning of our binder, we have this clear pocket where we're storing our receipts until we have time to work within ClassWallet. I may have a purchase from a week or 2 weeks ago. So when I go to fill this out, I'm not going to put the date of the purchase. I'm going to put the date that I'm actually inputting this into the system. This sheet not only works for the reimbursement process, but it works for your debit transactions as well. The next section we're going to look at is curriculum. All the pertinent information is on this page, meaning student name, application ID, date, the subject, class overview, lessons that will be provided, as well as supplies. Every time I see a curriculum, maybe in the Facebook parent groups that I like, I will print it and put it here for future reference. The next section we go to is attestations. Now, I did not create this document. This is directly from the Department of Education's website. I will be providing 5 charts per section that you can make copies of as you wish. But when it comes to this section, because this is not a document that I own, that I had created, I will include 5 copies of attestations, and I will not be adding them into the binder. You can do that after purchase. I am not selling this document. I will provide it as a courtesy. Next section we have is the funding and deposits. As funds are distributed throughout the year, so you can see this is still 2023-2024, as each quarter's distribution comes in, I'm going to write the date that it hits my account. I will put quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, label it as needed, and then I will put the full amount of the deposit that was made. That way, I have a starting point, somewhere where I can say this amount was put in. If you had to do a return, not seeing those funds going back into your child's account, and so having to call and then they have to release it manually. Make sure you're tracking your deposits, okay? Is this form necessary? Because we have our contracts and it has the amount. But this is important because I want to know the date that it was put in. So next year, as we are in the middle of summer and people are asking, when do we get funds for quarter 1? I can look back at this binder and go, you know what? I got that on July 25th or whatever it ends up being. It gives me a frame of reference. And it could be different every year. We have to be flexible. You can always add to each section. So under the funding and deposits tab, you have your templates for funds received, but right after that, I would actually put, this is an old one from last year and the year before that, you can put the annual ESA funding. You'll find this on the Department of Education's website, and you can go ahead and just insert this. Our next section is the ESA Marketplace. The ESA Marketplace worksheet is very similar to the reimbursements and transactions page. There are some key differences, and let me show you. So of course we start with the date, and on here I'd make it the date that you're inputting it into Class Wallet, vendor, and item, and then the amount of the purchase and the screenshot. So if you don't know, if you've not used Marketplace, the way it works is you search for the item you want, you place that item into the cart, and then you take a screenshot. That screenshot should have all the pertinent information, including shipping and taxes. So did I save it? Yes, or a check mark here. Then this is the submission section. To do a purchase in Marketplace, you do have to take that screenshot, yes, and then you have to go into Class Wallet and you need to upload that screenshot into the system. So when this is done, I put a check mark or a Y for yes. There is a small fee that is involved, and so it kind of requires us to do a little bit of finagling with the amount. And so what is the final amount that was paid? That goes here. I added this section for those of you buying electronics. Was there a warranty purchased? That way you have a record of, we just bought this laptop, we bought a Kindle, did I get the warranty for it? You can go back to this page in your files, and your receipt will actually be attached to this if you had a paper receipt. Again, there's a place for the order ID number that goes here. Very important you put this down for future reference. And then for Marketplace, there is not a reimbursed date. It's just the date the item arrives, basically, at your house. I'll change that. Instead of reimbursed, we're going to put item arrival date. And there you have it. I will only be making a select few of these binders. I do have 3 colors. We have this seafoam green, a purple binder, and then we have a pink version as well. Depending on the color of your binder will be the color of the inserts that match it inside. The whole point to using this system to organize your ESA documents is to have it all in one place and not just shoving papers in a notebook, but keeping it in a clear and organized way that you can rely on. I will be filming another video where I actually walk you through inputting transactions and filling out each form. If you want to purchase this binder, I will also be including an executive function themed curriculum. I will have a supply list that will have basic office supplies that you'll need to have on hand in order to keep this system functioning. So I'm talking about a hole puncher, a stapler and staples, whiteout in case you're using your tracking charts and you're writing in pen and you need to erase something. You need to set yourself up for success. I will also give suggestions on how to help each age group. My daughter is 5 years old and she can help in this process. You're showing this is what we do to organize important documents, teaching these executive function skills of time management, follow through, organizing, doing these simple accounting activities. And the best way to teach them is to lead by example. Thanks for watching our first tutorial in the series, Making Sense of Empowerment Scholarship Account. This is The Sensory Life.